NBA, and the biggest news of the past week, we had a major trade go down after being linked with the New York Knicks for what seemed like an eternity. Donovan Mitchell is actually going to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a blockbuster trade, obviously leaving the Utah Jazz. In return, they get Colin Sexton, who they've got as a sign and trade. He signed a 4-year, $72 million deal, so we'll get your thoughts on that. They also got Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, who was the 14th pick in the draft just gone, 3 unprotected future first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. So let's delve into this from 3 different angles. You've got the Cavs, obviously, what it does for them going into next season and beyond. You've got Utah, who are now fully hit rebuild mode, and they've still got some moves to make around Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson, Malik Beasley. There's a number of players still there that will probably get moved. And, of course, the Knicks, who we all thought were going to end up with Donovan Mitchell, and now are back to holding on to RJ Barrett. Obviously, they got Jalen Brunson in for Angie. So let's start with the Cavs. Your immediate thoughts from their perspective once you heard the trade?
For the Cavs, the fact that first of all, a small market team can even be in a position to get a young all-star who fits perfectly into what they need, the fact that they're even in contention, that I think Donovan Mitchell will actually be happy to go to Cleveland. How many times do you reckon we can say, how many times have a free agent's ever been happy to go there? Full stop. He must trust what's going on there. He fixes so many of their problems because at the end of last year's the games, is just Darius Garland over and over and over again, pick and rolls, and he just got exhausted and didn't really trust anyone else to shoot the ball, and you're getting a 25-point per game score, a dynamic scores from all 3 levels. And you're excited for Donovan Mitchell because he's always been the number one option. In fact, when he was in Utah, he had to take those last-minute shots, and he was the guy there. So the fact that they could share such a role, I do like that, the fact that he fits into there. And, sure, Darius Garland's 6'4", I think it is, and Donovan Mitchell's 6'1", but Donovan Mitchell plays way bigger than he actually is. He's got the wingspan, he's quite stocky in his, so he fit right in there. And when he came out of college at Louisville, he was known for his defensive ability. Actually, he had the 6'10" wingspan, and so I think the fact that he won't have to carry an entire offense, we're actually going to see that Donovan Mitchell in him, because he's going to need that, because if that's a very small backcourt, and I know they've got these twin towers back there, is something that I think they'll obviously need that person on the wing there. You do get excited because I feel like this is the new way to build a team. I think people are trying to model what the Bucks did. You build a young core together, and then you pull off one gigantic trade at the end as icing on the cake. What they did, they had Giannis obviously develop, Chris Middleton, players like Brook Lopez were great for the locker room and stuff. And then they just 3 first-round picks for Drew Holiday and the extension. And people were a little like, maybe that's a bit of an overplay. But as we remember what the end of the finals, how that played out. And Minnesota obviously followed the same thing. They built their little core. Now they just doing. I still won't forgive them for the Rudy Gobert trade, to be honest. Atlanta. So you get really, how young that core is, first and foremost, the way they fit into there. All they really need is a wing to fit in there. They've got a great development. And, you've got you've got a big 4, and all 4 are all-stars, all under 25. That's sensational. And it's Cleveland that have done this more than anything, which is quite amazing. In terms of what they jump up to, I saw people putting them in title contention, Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know if they're there. I don't want to make that sort of call just yet, because I just brought up the Bucks there as an example. Giannis was already MVP, top 5 NBA player. Darius Garland, first All-Star. Jared, Evan Mobley's even better than we expected, but he's 20. So I'll probably temper my expectations that they're going to be an unbelievably fun regular season team. But I'm just wrapped for Cleveland, for small markets, for Donovan Mitchell being able to put in a situation where he's actually going to thrive. Darius Garland getting some help. Cleveland, you just have to be impressed with the way they've managed to pull this off, full stop. And really, they've just given that Colin Sexton they gave up, Lauri Markkanen, they weren't really part of their future as is.
Yeah, well, if you look at what they've done off their team from last season, is Sexton was injured early in the season, didn't play. Obviously, Agbaji is a new draft pick coming in this season, so they've pretty much swapped out Lauri Markkanen for Donovan Mitchell. Now, that might be the biggest upgrade of any team in this offseason. I would have thought I'd struggle to see anything that even comes close to that kind of upgrade. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. You've got Donovan Mitchell under contract for 3 further seasons, so it's not like you're giving up your entire future just to have a guy that may leave in 12 months. You've got him under contract for 3 years. Who knows? If he does request a trade in 12 months' time, at least you'll still get something back for him in that scenario, but I don't see that happening. I'd imagine that Mitchell will see out the rest of his contract with Cleveland, and then we'll see what happens going forward after that. But to have 4 guys now 25 or under, 3 of which were All-Stars last season, and then your most important and most valuable player, Evan Mobley, wasn't one of those 3. So this is up there with the best young cores in the league, if not the best. And I think it's just a fantastic move to go all in when, as you say, you are a small to mid-market team. You don't acquire big free agents, to be able to go all in this position. And it just shows how quickly things can change in the NBA. This is a team that had the 3rd overall pick just over 12 months ago. And then in 12 months, Mobley's come in, been more than we ever expected. And you get to a position where you can actually say, hey, we've got Evan Mobley in place. You think about the fact he's contracted for another 3 seasons, and then if you are any good in this league, you get a max contract off your rookie deal. You just absolutely do. And so from that perspective, he is basically guaranteed to be on that team for the next 7-8 seasons. And when you've got that pillar in place, you can afford to say, here you go. To the Utah Jazz, have 3 unprotected future first-round picks, have 2 pick swaps. We'll mortgage our future knowing Evan Mobley's in place. And again, that's not to mention Darius Garland, who was an all-star this season, who's 22 years of age. He's still got plenty of growth left in him.